Hey, we back on Unconformed Podcast where technology is not our friend. Take three.
Technology sucks tonight. You know what I'm saying? We are struggling with these laptops and this recording session and these tools that we use to make our lives easier.
Yeah.
But hey, we're enduring.
Right. You know, I was listening to some podcast. It may have been Relevant or it may have been Theology in the Raw or something like that. But it was talking about how the generation that's coming up right now, the generation that's in school right now, has never known a world where you didn't have accessible Wi-Fi with you at all times. Like, that's crazy. Because like right now I'm just freaking out over all this little stuff that's going on. Like a Gen Z kid would probably know how to fix it in 2 seconds, and B, also be like, bro, we need better internet. So I just
absolutely.
I just thought that was kind of funny that like they've never grown up with that. They would never.
That's wild.
Yeah, they'll never know the dial-up struggles. So.
Oh man, dial-up, bro. I started off as an IT major in college, and I realized very quickly that was not for me. As you may know, I'm not tech savvy enough, and I don't have the patience to deal with it, bro. Anything that you can just turn off and on and it changes the whole way it works, I don't need to be in that type of field. I need something a little more solid and consistent, bro.
Yeah. Speaking of consistency, I'm gonna ask you to step back from the mic a little bit because
I'm still out.
Yeah, just a wee bit loud, but it's all good though. It's all good.
You know, my voice is like soft, bro. Like my voice is never carried far. So,
you know what I think it is? I'm gonna be honest with you.
What?
You value your parents and your family's opinion so much. And when we first started recording, like the first thing your parents told you was, speak up, we can't even hear you. And I think ever since then, like it's been ingrained in your head to speak up, whether you have a great mic like you do now, or if you had the mic that you did before. You can tell me if you think wrong. But
I think you're right, man. It takes me back to grade school when you're giving a speech in class and the teacher like, we need to hear you in the back. Right. So you just start talking louder.
Yeah, hey, that's exactly what it's like. But shoot,
man, that's right.
Hey, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna get this off my chest real quick. I don't condone violence on this podcast normally, but Jack Harlow has been nominated for a Grammy for Rap Album of the Year.
He has.
And we know that Macklemore won Rap Album of the Year before over Kendrick Lamar. Over J. Cole. All that Iggy. I think Iggy's won a Grammy over Iggy Azalea's won one over J. Cole. Which was before because he knew the setup. But this is what I'll say. I'm not going to condone violence, but what I will say is that I will be silent if a riot results in Jack Harlow winning this Grammy. That's what I say.
Yeah.
I'm not going to condone it, but I'm just going to throw that out there. For my boy Jeremy Davis, I know how you feel. We've already talked about it on Instagram, but we on the same page. But that's all I'll say.
Over there, I don't know who all over there on Instagram. I ain't over there, but shout out to Jack Harlow though. You know, honestly, I did not expect him to get nominated for the Grammy. It is a very political choice. The Grammys make terrible decisions every year, for sure. I will say that. But Kendrick is nominated for the Grammy along with Pusha T as well in the same category. I mean, come on, that's Future.
DJ
Khaled. But I feel like Kendrick or Pusha got to get it. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely not going to give it to Pusha. Like, the whole album was about crap. Like, there's no way. Cocaine. There's no way they're going to give it to him. No.
Pusha got connects, man. He got connections, so you never know. You never know.
Has he ever won a Grammy, in all seriousness?
That is a great question.
Hold on a second.
I really don't know.
Has Pusha T ever won a Grammy?
Come on with the Siri. Everybody wait.
Yeah, I think he's gotten 2 nominations, it looks like. 2023,
but never won.
2019.
2023? Oh, yeah, 2023.
Yeah, that's for next year.
Yeah. I don't think he's ever won.
I take that back. He's actually gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nominees. He's never won. And that man ain't even won a BET award before. Step your game up, Push. Please. Come on, man. Please,
he can relax. He's at the end of his career, man. He needs to go ahead and retire, bro.
Yeah, but some people are at the end of their career. Some people reinvent themselves. Like I've always appreciated Maroon 5 and whatnot.
Maroon
For the
5.
ability, for the ability to just recreate yourself. And some people do that in a really, really good way, and some people
Yeah.
do that and they recreate themselves and it's decent. But because you had such a loyal following from the start, everybody says that, for lack of better words, roses really smell like blank, blank, blank. So I'm just saying. And the person I'm talking about right now is Taylor Swift. The Swifties are going crazy about this Ticketmaster situation. I actually saw that some 38th row tickets were selling for $90,000.
Ooh, say it ain't so.
I wish I would have bought them tickets. I wish that I had the mentality of a Swiftie or didn't underestimate the Swifties. Wow. Somebody's gonna buy them tickets for $90,000.
Bro, Taylor Swift is the white Beyonce, and it's not even close. I'm telling you, bro, she's got a following that's ridiculous. I mean, I didn't even realize this. I mean, she got the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 by herself earlier a few weeks ago, and it's all because of her fan base, bro. Because those songs were not popping. You know what I'm saying? I listened to them joints, but she's the white Beyonce out here, bro. We gotta face it. It is what it is.
I'm not facing that. I'm not facing that. It's not even, no, I refuse to face that. I think this is what I'll say. She got her fan base in a chokehold. That's what I'll say. And no matter what she releases, it's gonna sell out. It doesn't matter. It's gonna sell out. Like, so is it the white Beyonce? I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure you saw the Facebook status I made that just asked, hey, like this if you don't listen to Taylor Swift. Over 100 people liked it.
Wow, did you get that high?
Yeah, so I don't think that, I'm sorry, Kayla Thompson, forgive me, but I don't think that the number will be as loud or as high if I said that about Beyonce.
Kayla, I want you to go to Darius' page and let him have it. I want you to spam every post he makes until he apologizes. You hear me, Kayla? You hear me? Do it for Tay-Tay.
Hey,
do it for Tay-Tay.
What you should do is go to every post, Kayla. Go to every post and like the middle comment, the comment that's in the middle, because Taylor Swift is mid. Because she's mid, it will be in commemoration of Taylor Swift. I'm just throwing it out there. So
tell them to relax. Tell them to relax.
Hey, it's all love. It's all love, Kayla. Glad you got them tickets. Glad you didn't have to pay $90,000 for them tickets or whatever other people paying.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to you. But also, I'm gonna shout out to this episode, because this is an episode that, like, I'm pretty excited to talk about. I know you're pretty excited to talk about it. We talking about Wakanda Forever, man. Wakanda Forever came out last Thursday. Today is the 18th. Came out last Thursday. You saw it on Thursday. I saw it on Thursday. It's fresh on our minds. We've had plenty of time to be able to process what we're saying and just think through. So we're gonna talk about the movie. If you have not seen the movie at this point, this is your fault. And we still encourage you to listen. We still encourage you to listen to this episode because we need the streams. But there will be spoilers in this episode, so I'm just throwing it out there, just letting you know now.
For sure. You should have seen it by now. If not, your black card is definitely, it's not revoked, but it's definitely like up for review. If you haven't seen it at this point, it is November 17th or 17th. So yeah, we got to roll.
Yeah, man. It's up for review. If you want to, never mind. I was gonna make a Taylor Swift. Leave it alone.
Taylor Swift black card. Nah, just kidding. Yeah, man. So no, but I was just gonna say, man, this movie was Ryan Coogler. I feel like this showed just how genius this guy is, because of the amount of work he had to do to make this movie possible, given the circumstances that he was under. So yeah, man, you want to dive in, man? What are your initial thoughts, man? I could dive in. You want to dive in? What's up?
Man, I think ultimately it was a movie about grief. That's really what it boiled down to, which is pretty poetic, right? But like it was pretty much a movie about grief and how different people handle grief in different ways. How grief can, you know what I'm saying? It can bust a pipe or it can make a diamond. So like when I say that, like that's what pressure does to you. It can either bust a pipe or make a diamond. So with that, man, I was super impressed. But I think I left most impressed with Angela Bassett. Like she ate the whole movie. Thanksgiving is next week. She must have been getting prepared for Thanksgiving because she was eating, man. She carried the movie. I'm not gonna lie to you. Everybody else did a good job, but she carried the movie.
She did, man. And honestly, Angela Bassett has always made an impact on every role she's ever done. You know what I'm saying? But this one just hit so differently, bro. And like there's a dichotomy to this movie that I feel like is just like hovering over the entirety of the movie. And that's the fact that, like, yes, they are acting out because T'Challa is dead, and they're having to like move on and like grieve him. But there's also this second side of like Chadwick Boseman being dead. That's like a trueness to their acting. It's like, bro, when they did that funeral scene at the beginning of the movie, the all white, which all white is actually like culturally what Africans in some tribes and nations, that's what they wear, is white. And when they did that scene, bro, it was so real. I mean, it emanated through the screen, the wailing, the crying, the grief. And it reminded me of how I first felt when I found out Chadwick died, bro. It brought all those feelings back. And I just love the fact that Marvel honored him in that way. As a black man, I saw that and I was like, man, I feel like that did something for me as a black man to see Marvel going out of their way to honor such a talented, amazing, actor and professional like Chadwick was. And then the opening scene, after that opening scene, they have the Marvel artwork that shows usually all of the different characters, but all of them were just Chadwick.
And it was silent. Bro, it was silent.
And it was silent. It was dead silent, bro, with just pictures of him. And after that flash and it came to the final screen, everybody just clapped in the theater. Just clapped. Because it was so beautifully done. The first, what was that? Probably just a minute and 30 seconds, 2 minutes. Everybody's already about to cry, bro. Grief. You know what I'm saying? And it did a masterful job, bro. I gotta give it to them. Hats off.
Yeah. So where do you want to start? Like, do you have any specific place you want to start, or?
Man, it's so much. I want to kind of go in order from beginning to end, but even that is difficult because it's so much, and we only have 30-ish minutes. But I do want to like bounce off of what you said about grief. I think this movie was a masterclass in grief. I mean, you could see it with Shuri. You could see it with Namor, in losing his mother. After, you could see it with the Queen Mother before she passed away, and you could see it with Okoye. I mean, it was just different scenes throughout the movie where people are experiencing grief. And I think one thing that was interesting to me was the fact that Shuri was dealing with her own crisis of spirituality. She had gotten to a place where her heart was kind of hardened toward the idea of the afterlife and the ancestral plane, and all of that. And I think that as a result, when anybody kind of gets to a place where they kind of question their faith or like choose to not have faith, it kind of makes the world less hopeful and less, it's like you lose that sense of wonder almost. And you become like focused in, okay, I'm going to focus on the things I can control. Science, I can control that. I can understand that. I'm not worried about the afterlife and all that. I can't control all that. So she kind of like hardened her heart and became like, apathetic toward that. And you know what happens usually when people get that way? They begin to become morally ambiguous, right? It's like, if there is no afterlife, which I don't believe anymore, then who cares if I, who cares if I'm moral? Who cares if I choose to do what's right over wrong? Who cares if I choose to take vengeance or not or whatever? And I think that had a big effect in Killmonger kind of slipping in and kind of almost talking her into becoming the bad guy. So yeah, that whole grief,
okay.
Yeah, I know it's a lot, right? Because the grief train leads you to bad guy almost. You know what I mean? If you don't deal with it correctly.
See, like. And maybe this is the time to talk about this because I was going to talk about it anyway. I feel like this movie, Wakanda Forever, like really in comparison to any other Marvel movie I've seen thus far, specifically like Marvel movies related to Wakanda. Like I hadn't heard as much talk about spirituality and ancestral spirituality as I heard in this movie. Like I just felt like there was like much more salient in this movie. You can tell me if you think I'm wrong, but like I didn't recall hearing as much. And it was like, like I don't know if you know, like that's kind of like a cultural norm right now to like, talk about being spiritual but not religious, or being spiritual but not really believing in like a God per se, or believing in a God, but it's kind of like what you make it to be. So yeah, I found that interesting that like it went that direction. Because I don't necessarily think that like, I wasn't expecting that. But in that, I thought that it was really interesting that she pretty much leaned into work. Like, so how you were talking about, like, she just kind of like focused on work, focused on work.
That's
and it's right. Kind of like a warning that like this can't happen. Like, you can attempt to like not deal with grief, but hide from grief through focusing on other things. Maybe it's stuff you're really good at. Maybe it's maybe it's just something that's going to keep your mind off of it. But you can truly like completely relieve yourself of that, but also like you relieve yourself of other things. So like I think that like when she talked about her mom asked her what's today, she said Tuesday, but she didn't know it was the anniversary of her brother dying. You know what I'm saying? So like how that's the point she had gotten to, where like no day had any purpose, it had no significance. Like she only lived her days to work, and work on something to keep her mind off of that, to the point that she didn't know what day of the week it was. So I did find it I did find that super interesting, and also just like super relatable if you think about like us as society, like things that we do. I could think about when I was in college, and I would like I could have a big test to study for, but now I'm gonna clean up the room first. I'm gonna clean up this first. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. Like anything to take my mind off of what I need to be doing. Anything to take my mind off the anxiety that like study is gonna give me. So like I just found that super interesting, like in that, and also like her ability to like still want to be like this independent woman, like in the midst of it. So like wanting to go to America and like wanting to ride the motorcycle and separate and all that stuff. Just still wanting to be like, rebellious to some capacity, which is what she'd always been. But like even in the midst of grief, like when opportunities came, like she still took advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Shuri, the complicated thing about this movie was the fact that Shuri's character development was supposed to happen over the course of a couple more movies. She was supposed to like develop her character. The director, Ryan Coogler, is going to develop her character alongside Chadwick. And then she becomes the Black Panther, just like in the comics, right? But because Chadwick passes, they make this the second movie, and she's being forced into this role, which is kind of interesting, right? Because just as it was in real life, with her being forced into having to become the Black Panther early, in the movie, she also had to do the same thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting, because in both cases, she kind of seemed not ready, even with Letitia Wright, the character who plays Shuri. But I thought it was interesting because of the fact that, bro, and like I said at the beginning, Ryan Coogler had a big task with not having a chance to develop Shuri's character, not having a chance to develop Riri or Williams' character, Ironheart, and then having to like just move the storyline forward in a way that makes sense. And we'll talk about what he did at the end later, because that's the end, which was brilliant, by the way, in my opinion. Like, couldn't have been more brilliant. But what I was also thinking about with Namor, who is a Mexican, he's a mutant basically. I love the way that they brought in his character, because of the fact that like this is the first, I think, other than America, in the last Doctor Strange movie, I think.
That was it. It was Doctor
Strange. Other than her, there hasn't been really much of a Hispanic presence in the MCU, right? And I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anybody, but I don't think so. So this is the first time where you see like a whole Hispanic community represented in the MCU. And I like the fact that even though he was a villain, he was still principled. it's like he was just kind of like Killmonger in a way that he started off as a victim and became a villain type thing, with his mom passing away, being killed by the oppressors or whatever, or almost being killed, and then him kind of going on a wild streak to protect his people after that, which is kind of understandable, right? But
yeah,
I wish I could have talked to some Hispanic people to see how they felt about some of my Hispanic friends out there, to see how they felt about the representation that they saw in the movie. In a lot of ways, we kind of had our community split in half, with the Killmonger was right crowd and the rest of us who had sense. But then I wonder if that same thing's kind of happening in the Hispanic community, because I can kind of see where Namor was coming from in that. So what were your thoughts on Namor and kind of like how they introduced him? And
and real quick, Miles Morales is technically half Hispanic.
Okay.
So
hence the last name.
Yeah. But I think that I think that Black Panther, better than any Marvel movie I could think of, does a really, really good job of like getting the antagonist viewpoint across. So like, yes. I think that like, with Killmonger, you have people that's like, this is relatable, I can relate to this, so on and so forth. With Namor, like they even like, show slavery as a reminder, you know what I'm saying? Like this happened other places too. So we should be mindful of this and like even like looking at him as like a member of an oppressed group. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes it to where you can empathize with him a little bit more. But I think that what it does is it always goes a step too far, right? Like they always they had Killmonger like randomly killing women and stuff like that in Black Panther. And then they
burned all the heart-shaped herbs.
Yeah. So they were gonna make it to where you had to like somewhat root against him, but like at the end of the day, like a lot of what he said was valid and still true. And I think even with Namor, like you saw that like a lot of what he said was valid and still true. And the oppression that people faced led to him basically creating another universe for them. A whole another world, I guess you could say. So like I thought that they did a good job introducing him. And let me say this real quick too. I'm not a big comic book reader. Are you a big comic book reader for this stuff?
No, I'm not.
Okay, cool.
I think I missed out on that whole phase of life.
yeah. So we're not coming from it from that angle, because that's not like what we're here for. I know like some people have said like it didn't like portray him in a way that maybe the comics did or whatever. I don't know. I'm just going based on the movie we saw. So I thought they did a really good job introducing him. I'm excited to see like what happens in the future with him, because
he's coming back. He's definitely coming back.
Yeah, and I think like maybe like as early as the new Captain America movie, whenever that drops. What Captain America? What is it? New World Order? Does that sound right?
Man, I haven't even gotten the title yet, but I do know it's one coming. Yeah.
I think that like them in Wakanda will be a pretty big role. They'll play a pretty big role in those movies. So I'm excited to see what happens. But ultimately, like Namor, he was like a leader, but he was principled. He could have killed. Principled. Yeah, he could have killed Shuri way earlier in the movie if he really wanted to.
Absolutely.
And it was the thing, like I gotta kill this scientist. Yeah. We just met her, bro. We on her dead. So like it's
That's
clear,
right.
Yeah, it's clear, you know what I'm saying, like what they were trying to do and like make it to where he's a villain, so on and so forth. But I think like at the end of the day, like he was a pretty likable villain, as bad as it sounds.
Yeah. Because you got a chance to see the community and the kids and the families that he's protecting. It's like I mean, listen, I get it. I mean, I think we as Black Americans, we get it. It's like, if you can have peace and you got to protect your people from oppression and bigotry and people that want to take what you have. I mean, like, we get it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's still a bad guy at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And I think, man, like, I want to jump to the Queen Mother's passing, but because I know we don't have a lot of time, I got so much on my mind. I'm gonna try to get it out quick. So, bro, in the theater when the Queen Mother got drowned and he like bombarded her with all the water and she didn't make it, and Shuri was trying to get to her, screaming and crying, and Okoye was crying and everything. There was a woman in the row behind us who we heard her like she audibly like gasped. And a few moments later, she was walking out, being escorted by a friend who had took her by the arm, and they were like walking down the steps of the theater to try to get out of there. And later on,
you're doing too much, woman. But go ahead.
I mean, that was our thought, right? That was our thought. But later on, a friend who I was there at the movie theater went to go to the bathroom, and then she came back, and she was like, "Hey, you know that woman that we heard behind us? She's outside the theater, like having a breakdown. Like she's really like spazzing out." And then in my mind, I was like, "Oh man, she might have experienced a death of a mother, or maybe her mother, maybe her mother drowned or something like that. Something triggered her, and she had a real visceral response to seeing the Queen Mother passing. That's what I think. We really don't know, but it did get me to thinking, like, how much this movie just embodies the spirit of what the Black community goes through sometimes, and in that particular case, just fighting for the family. You know what I mean? Like the theme of fighting for the family. And then you see Shuri, she's lost her dad, she's lost her brother, and now she's lost her mother, and how that's so, in the Black community, we can relate to that, in a lot of ways, because a lot of us deal with not having our fathers there, not deal with having family members who we can't, rely on, or like who are in prison or whatever. And it kind of just made me think like, man, this movie is hitting on so many relevant points, grief, like you said, grief is all throughout the film. But I always think about this, and I talked to in another episode about this when we discussed Woman King, and it was just like, how do Black men fit into the family unit? How do Black women fit into the family unit? How do the kids fit in? And how much are we fighting for that? Because that's super important. I even think about like, M'Baku, he's there, but it's not a lot of men in the movie that's there. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like,
and Joy made the point to me that like they always make the men seem weak. Like when he got punched in the chest and he was like gasping for air.
Namor hit that man. That man flew across 4 or 5 huts in the village, bro. Landed in a tiki bar. That man was done.
That man said,
bro. Namor hit him with a one piece, and that was all it took. Not a 2-piece, just a 1-piece.
It was a wrap.
But it's sad though, because it's like, look, I love the strength, and I want to make sure I say this, just like I did when we discussed Woman King, right? I love the strength of the women in this movie. We haven't even mentioned like Nakia. We haven't mentioned Okoye, how she killed it. We haven't mentioned how the Dora Milaje killed it, because they all did. Shuri, when she took the herb, everybody, Riri, bro, Black woman power, right? But like, I don't ever want it to be mixed up. I want to be a part of protecting Black women. You know what I mean? I want that to be a thing for Black men to be like, yeah, that's what we do. We protect our women. And so in a way, it's kind of like, that's what we're fighting. I want to be able to say like, yo, we fight for that. Like we fight to be in our women's lives and our mothers and so the movie kind of like stirred that up in me. Just family, bro. We should be fighting for family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think also just like the importance of community. Period. The importance of like those around you. I think that like when I forget Angela Bassett's character's name, but I think that like
when mother.
Sure.
Ramonda.
Don't know. But I think. I'm just saying.
Okay, go ahead.
I think that, like, when she's got that really emotional scene where she confronts where she confronts the woman and whatnot. Okoye, yeah, when she confronts her and stuff like that, like, it looks like everybody's kind of questioning her, but like nobody wants to admit it. But I'm pretty sure you remember like when M'Baku threw shade at her later on in the movie or whatever. He was like, oh yeah, I'm sure they'll reward us with some kind of banishment or something like that. So
yeah, I remember that.
So I just think that like it's so important to have some kind of community. Somebody is going to hold you accountable, even when you are vengeful. Somebody is going to hold you accountable privately. Because I think that you saw like one person tried to question publicly, but that didn't go anywhere. But like the importance of having that, because like it did look like you're making an emotional decision there. And even with Shuri, like her relationship got better like when she was able to like form some kind of bond with Ironheart. So like that's kind of like what kind of led to like her being able to get through that. And I do want to go back to this. I do want to go back to the scene with Killmonger because I think that you and I took it in two different ways. You took it. I think you took it. I think you said you took it as kind of Killmonger like trying to persuade her to be bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like Killmonger presented to her what was natural. Like, put it like this, bro. Killmonger always makes a good argument, right? He always does. What he says always makes sense, but he appeals to your id more than your conscience, He appeals to your flesh than your spirit. So he's kind of like, look, man, T'Challa, he was too noble. You know what I mean? And the plan that I had would have worked. And honestly, what you need to do is you need to take vengeance. And it's like, I can see why he says that, But at the end of the day, do you remember how the room was like set on fire around him as he was talking? And it was almost as if like, yo, he's in the ancestral plane, or is he like in the Hades? You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like that temptation to like, yeah, man, get vengeance. And then Queen Mother comes later and she's like, remember who you are. You know what I'm saying? Which is kind of like more of a conscience type thing, where you're dealing with, right and wrong as more of a godly rather than an ungodly way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So, and you see, I think I took it more so as like him saying like, your family failed in these ways. Your family was too loyal. Your family was blindly loyal, and you don't need that. You don't need to be that. And I think there's like space for that. And I mean, maybe she just had a heart full of rage the whole time. And that's why whatever it's called that she drank took her to Killmonger, or
the heart-shaped herb.
Yeah, the heart-shaped herb. Maybe that's why. Or maybe it's like who she needed to see in that moment so that she wouldn't be too weak. So she could like come up with an actual compromise. You know what I'm saying? So like, because I think that she could have easily let him go. She could have easily let Neymar go. And I think that like, hearing the mistakes from somebody, hearing the mistakes that your granddad made, that your dad made, that your brother made, that even your mom made, from somebody who's not afraid to call you out, like challenge you in a way that like maybe you couldn't have been challenged in any other way by anybody else. So this kind of
I see what you mean on that too, because there is a little bit of like, there's a little bit of wisdom that you need to have where you're like wise as a serpent, you know what I mean, when dealing with life or death, which she was definitely dealing with. And, I will say this as far as Killmonger goes too. Interesting thing about it is Killmonger burned all of the heart-shaped herbs so that he could be the Black Panther forever. And so, and then T'Challa passes away from an illness that he probably got from the other nations while he was out there being Black Panther. And so,
and that was a beef too, by the way. That was a beef of mine. Say how he died. I need some explanation. Don't just say his illness.
They paralleled him with Chadwick, man. They made them characters one, man, because like, I feel like they did that on purpose, but I loved it. But be that as it may, if the heart-shaped herbs were still there, then T'Challa wouldn't have died because he would be able to take the herbs, but he had burned them all. So even like with Killmonger's fruit, you see his rage. He destroyed so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then he ended up dying without accomplishing his goal. And Slick wish we wouldn't have killed Killmonger off in the first movie so that he could have been in this one. Like, I feel like it would have been valuable to have another, like a living being actually trying to play the devil's advocate against Shuri.
Yeah, and I don't read the comics very much, but I do know like the clips at least, and I know that like in the comics, like Killmonger is revived multiple times and becomes the Black Panther multiple times. So like I'm just saying, like maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe.
I know we don't got a lot of time, but like Ironheart, I think that like the one who played her character,
Riri Williams.
Yeah, Riri Williams. There you go. Like she absolutely like killed that role. She provided comic relief at times that we or comedic relief at times we definitely needed. She played the role really well. She seemed like a kid that was in college. She seemed young, but also like a genius. Like she walked that tightrope very well.
Yeah, I agree. And she actually reminded me of like, it's kind of like the unpolished character, like, and I love that. Like she reminded me of the young version of Sanaa Lathan's character in Love and Basketball. Was it Kyla Pratt who played that role? Remember? Love and Basketball. Yeah. She kind of reminded me of her, kind of like tomboyish, but like, and I like that because everybody. It's kind of reflective of real life, right? Everybody's not going to be picture perfect, and she's definitely like the kind of little hood girl that's super smart, brilliant. She's smart as Tony Stark. As you can see, she created a machine that could find vibranium underwater. And so, yeah, and I love her back and forth with Okoye too. Like that was really funny. Like the film did a good job of trying to have a little bit of humor in it, but that grief was a lot though, bro. Not go front. It overwhelmed the entire movie.
And what I will say also is that like as we continue to talk about grief, like we gotta remember in the first Black Panther movie, like Killmonger is the result of a life full of grief with no solace, no relief, no way of truly dealing with that. So like that is kind of like who and what his character is. Like it goes back to grief, and how grief can literally kill you if you allow for it to kill you and if you allow for it to consume you and if you are cool with not trying to make amends in a way that challenges you, maybe uncomfortable for you and maybe doesn't put anybody else in harm. Because like when your whole process of healing is based on vengeance and based on harming others, it's just not going to work. And for us, I think that like, for us, like we ideally, like we're not going to go kill nobody, right? If somebody's wrong. But like, I think that like you can still treat people terribly. You can still like, secondarily harm people and things like that, like out of grief and out of, unresolved grief at that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. And I think it's like, there's a lot of therapy that I feel like I actually feel a different way about Chadwick's death after the movie than I did before, if that makes sense. Like, honestly, I it's kind of like with Kobe Bryant, right? When Kobe Bryant passed away, there was kind of like this moment. It wasn't a moment. It was like weeks of shock. And then, they had the funeral and then you're just like, okay, wow. But with Chadwick, he died the same year and 2 years have gone by. And then it's kind of like we got a chance to unearth him just for one last celebration. And then now it's kind of like, okay, I feel like we actually honored him the way that he deserved to be honored. And I kind of wish Kobe could have something similar to what we got with Chadwick, if I'm being honest, because those were the two that hit me the hardest on that year. I mean, obviously George Floyd as well. And I think, just that's my personal, thoughts on it.
It's a different connection with somebody that you've like seen in movies and seen in interviews and like seen them play basketball for half of your life.
Your whole life. Yeah.
Life. You know what I'm saying? So like that is different than like somebody who was unjustly killed in the streets.
With George Floyd. Yeah.
So like
absolutely.
That is a difference in that. So it's not really comparable either, I would say. So just so you feel better about that.
I didn't want to act like I was not going to mention him in 2020, but
but hopefully we get a Kobe documentary one day. And like hopefully it's well done. Like he played for the Lakers, so like there's plenty of people in Hollywood who can do that well. But
yes,
let's go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I gotta make sure I mention this before we finish. I don't know where you're about to, but when in the end, when Nakia finally explained why she left Wakanda, it was because she was hiding a child. Well, it wasn't that she was hiding a child. T'Challa requested that she keep it on the low, right? And so when Shuri finally got to meet her nephew, and we found out that his name was T'Challa, it clicked for me. I was like, this is how you do two things. This is how you continue to allow Chadwick to be the Black Panther forever in people's minds and hearts. But this is how you also bring another T'Challa who can be his son in the future movies. But he'll continue the legacy of the comic books, right? So now I'm like, that was brilliant because you did both things. People were arguing, like, should we replace Chadwick? Should we not? Da-da-da-da. In this way, you kind of kept both. You kept Chadwick in his place of honor, and then you bring in a new T'Challa who can continue the legacy, the comic books, maybe the path the comic books had for the original T'Challa. His son can now take on those adventures. So I thought that was great. I thought that was brilliant. I'm looking forward to see who they cast for it. You know, I'm hearing like, what's Denzel Washington's son's name? John David could possibly do it. Or, I'm ready. I'm ready for the next few movies because I feel like Shuri is going to end up becoming the queen, and we're going to need another Black Panther. That's just how I see it. That's what I predict happening.
I ain't even thought that far ahead, but I think that, like, I mean, you may be on to something. I'm excited to see where they go with Ironheart. I think it's supposed to be like a Disney Plus TV show, because, like, you know, like her whole character is like built up on like the adoration and admiration and relationship with Tony Stark. So
that's right.
I'm excited to see like what happens with that, and just see, like, you know, what's to come of it. So let's do this. Rate Shuri as Black Panther.
That's a little okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, right? I'm gonna give Shuri an 8 as the Black Panther on a scale of 1 to 10. And the reason why I feel like she definitely, obviously, she drank the heart-shaped herb, so she's completely powerful. Doesn't have anything to do with that. I think that she does have some growth and development to do. It's almost like putting on your daddy's shoes or your mother's shoes, right? They're a little bit too big for you to walk in, but you got to kind of grow into them. I feel like she still has some growing to do as far as the responsibility that comes with that. I'm very glad that she made the choice not to kill Namor, because do you realize that if she would have killed Namor, that army was going to destroy Wakanda from the face of the earth, right? We saw that about to happen in the movie. They were outnumbered. So she made the wise choice there, but she's going to have to continue to make wise choices, and I think she has to grow into that. So I give her an 8.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I give her about a 7, maybe 7.5. Okay. It's not a bad grade, but I think that, like, you know, when you look at the way Chadwick Boseman, like, played Black Panther, there's our only view of Black Panther. And
that's right. Hard to follow.
Yeah, and it was good until she said Wakanda Forever, and I was like, this don't hit the same. Look,
that Wakanda Forever didn't slap. It just didn't slap, bro.
it just didn't hit the same. And I think I saw some like what if or something like that. Where, I mean, Michael B. Jordan tried it too, and like it didn't hit the same. And like and what if I think so? Like I'm just saying. It just didn't hit the same.
Chadwick was something special, bro. That's definitely true.
And I do have a question. Like, what happens, like, if somebody challenges her to be Black Panther, and they be like, the strength of the Black Panther has been stripped away. Like, what?
Stripped away.
Like what?
How does that go?
She wins that fight. Yeah, I don't. Like, maybe they just don't out of respect, but like, conceivably, like, M'Baku could be Black Panther, like, whenever he desired to at this point.
So, and you know, that's the interesting thing about the end of the movie, right? Because you saw them about to have the tournament, and you're thinking, "Hey, what is about to happen right now?" I know she's not about to be stripped of her power to fight M'Baku. And you know, you find out she's not there. So I think in this situation, probably because it's a special case, I don't think she would be challenged for the role. That's just my thoughts on it. You know, ladies, if you think that's sexist, I'm sorry. That's not my intention. But M'Baku and Shuri is not a fair fight by any stretch of the imagination. And if you still think I'm sexist, send all your hate mail to Darius.
Please do. I will treat it like I treat text messages, and I will not respond. So,
hey, it's gonna be somebody in your email saying women can fight men. You know, it's okay. We can do all the things y'all can do. It's all right. We agree.
I'm gonna stop right there. But like we've rated Shuri. Let's rate Wakanda Forever 1 to 10. What you got? 1 to 10.
I give it a. By the way, the first one I gave that a 10.
Okay.
This one I give it a 9.
Okay.
And yeah, there's nothing bad about that rating. It's just hard to compete with what was almost just the introduction of like something I had never seen before, which was an all black movie, all black cast, black director. And then the plot I feel like was really good in the first Black Panther. And this plot was great too. But it kind of felt like it was more of an island, separated away from the MCU universe, a little bit more separated. We didn't see any of our supporting favorites, but we did get a chance to meet some new people. So I give it a 9, you know.
Yeah, and I think that like I don't give anything 10s. So I guess I'll give like Black Panther, the original Black Panther, or I don't give any movies 10s, I should say. Albums, sure. But movies, not so much. I think that I would give the original Black Panther a 9.8 probably, and I'd probably give Wakanda Forever about an 8.5. I thought it was really good. Okay. And I mean that's still a great review, but it's just not the first one. The first one is legendary. So like, yeah, you weren't gonna top that. Even with Chadwick Boseman, it was not gonna be topped. So like,
yeah, that's true.
So like, let's just be honest there. So yeah, great movie. Hope you
movie though.
Like I'm assuming like if you've listened this far, then you've seen the movie. So
yeah, they've seen it. They've seen it.
Yeah. So let us know what y'all think for real. Let us know what y'all thought about the movie. Maybe we said something that y'all didn't necessarily like. Maybe we said something that y'all didn't agree with. Unless it's about Shuri and the strength of the Panther, I'm willing to listen. But in that man, let us know what y'all think about this. Let us know what y'all think about other episodes like this. And yeah, man, just get back at us, man. But do us a favor. You still listening? I need y'all to follow us on Instagram at Unconform Podcast. I need you to follow us on YouTube at Unconform Podcast. I need you to follow us on Facebook. Guess what? At Unconform Podcast. I need you to go to Apple Podcasts. Go to Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. Go to Spotify Podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. Go to YouTube.
There you go.
Like the videos. When you like the videos, the algorithm works in our favor. The algorithm works in our favor. And I know that because I can look at the likes from previous videos and the plays from previous videos. So if you will do that for us, the links are all in the show notes. So if you're listening right now, you can easily find them. And just do one of those 3 things for us. And it'll be super helpful.
There you go. Absolutely. And Wakanda Forever. And man, I'm gonna probably go back and watch this movie again. I probably won't watch it a whole bunch of times, but I definitely will go back through it one more time. And so yeah, man, that's it. Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever.